I want you to think of the favorites tab. Think of it as your own personalized resource bank. That's really what it is. The favorites tab in and of itself is where you can save all of your favorite things, materials and templates and notes and things like that. You can save it according to your lessons instead of according to students. Does that make sense? And really the favorites tab, our planner, the planner source that all of this stuff comes from, when it says like planner magic loading in that, it really looks just like this. The source for all of the planners really looks like this, just minus all of this stuff at the top up here. So we're going to go over favorites, and then we're going to talk about students and how to use the planner to, remember specific things about your students, to put their photos in, how to show all your previous rewards that you might have had with that student, and things like that. So when you are done editing feedback, that's rule number one for saving favorites, is that if you're using a template from the feedback tab, let's say you've edited something on your feedback tab, and those edits you want to keep for next time. Let's say you added your little sign off that you always do, like send me a lot of apples or whatever, and you want to save that because that's what you say on all of your feedback. So you don't want to have to be typing that every single time. So you want to make those edits on your feedback tab first, okay? Because all of your templates, all of the templates that are on the feedback tab actually show real time on your, they show real time on your favorites tab. So that's definitely rule number one, is that you want to make sure that you're done editing feedback first before you, hold on, I'm clicking around a bunch because I'm trying to, there we go, got my spotlight back on, okay. So you definitely want to make edits first, okay? And then go onto your favorites tab and be able to save those edits that you made, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and get started on saving our favorites. This would be post-class, okay, really. And once you get more fluent with the favorites tab, you might decide you want to prep from your favorites tab, which is what a lot of people do. It's very efficient to do that. But let's just go over the basics of the favorites tab. At the top, you'll see right here, you'll see all of these blank boxes, right, when you first click on your favorites tab. In order to get those boxes filled up, you do not paste anything on there. Don't do it, okay? Just don't do it. But if you do, you can always Control V or Control Z or undo. But all of the cells that are colored up top here, you cannot edit any of it, okay? It's filled with formulas that are very complex. So what I'm gonna do is select a lesson that's currently showing on my planner tab. So let's say I wanna select this one right here. So I'm gonna click it. And whenever I click it, I will see things pop up in those empty boxes. And these are the things that are, these are the exact things that are showing on my planner tab currently. So right here on the props and on the rewards, that's what's showing on my planner tab, okay? And let's say I really liked this prop file, and I want to remember, okay, this is the good one, this is the one I want to use, it's more up to date. So I want to save this one as my favorite. And maybe I want to use this koala find a star as a favorite reward for that lesson. What I would want to do to save a prop or a reward as my favorite is I would want to then find this same lesson code and match it down below. So all of the VIP Kid lesson codes that are showing up in your portal attached to lessons, they're all listed right here on your favorites tab, okay? Like I said, it's a personalized resource bank. So instead of scrolling for a long time, notice I'm scrolling right now, you can see my mouse or my codes changing down here, the rows are changing. That will take a long time to scroll to that one number wherever. So I can actually just click this button, find that code. When I click that button, it's going to match it down below, okay? And so I want to take whatever is my favorite prop, I want to put that prop right here next to that lesson, okay? So first I want to make sure, okay, it's unit 12.1. So I want to be right here, unit 12.1, okay? So I'm going to copy it just like I would when I'm selecting a reward. I want to copy it. So I'm using Control C. And then I would click down right next to that same lesson and I would paste it. Okay. And this will allow it to the planner to remember that for next time. Those links will always stay there. None of your buttons really touch the favorites tab at all. So it's really like a personalized resource bank, right? So let's say I want to save this reward as my favorite for this specific lesson. Remember, this is not by student, it's just by lesson. So I'm clicking once up here and I'm hitting Control C and I'm going down here and I'm using Control V, okay? So I've selected favorites now for those two, or for a prop and a reward for this lesson, okay? And notice that I really can't, I mean, I could go in and change, like let's say, oh man, I really want to see, I want to prep ahead of time, right? I want to get ahead of myself and let's go ahead and prep my favorites for all of this unit. Well, rule number one, you don't type in this box because you can, but it will not show you anything. So the favorites tab only shows you what is currently in your planner, all right? So for this case, if you want to prep ahead and set favorites for maybe a whole level, a whole unit, and you're really go-getter, you can use SlideKick to grab those links, okay, if you want to. Because if I just simply changed this to a 2, right, and I hit enter, it's going to show me nothing, okay? Even though there are resources for that lesson in our resource bank, it's not currently in your planner right now because that's not the lesson that you input. Does that make sense? Kind of. Okay, so you can use SlideKick to search those lessons and kind of get ahead. And the way that you can input your own link, like from SlideKick, maybe if you simply just copied a link from SlideKick and like you hit the copy link button and you paste it right there, it's going to be wonky looking. See how it doesn't have the title or anything like that. So if you want to name that link or make it look a little bit nicer, you can always select that right there, right click, and you can right click and do edit link, okay? And then it'll allow you to maybe add a title for that, okay? So maybe if I want to put, you know, props for this lesson or whatever, you don't have to name it anything specific. It doesn't matter what you name the link, okay? And if I hit apply, it's going to show me that instead of that big old long link, okay? So, yes, questions. Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna unmute.
Go ahead.
So if you copy the link from SlideKick,
Yes.
are you copying it from the address bar?
No, well, yes, you could if you opened it up already. Are you talking about like if you open up?
Right, or do you just copy it from the
either or? Either or. If you use the copy link button in SlideKick, or if you copy, like let's say you have a Google slide open that you want to copy, like this right here. Maybe this, if you had a reward or something, if you just copied it from the address bar, that's fine too. Yeah,
okay,
that will work. And what you could do then is you could, you know, paste it right there, and it'll show you that big old long URL, or you can always just use Control K, okay? And so
Megan,
that, yeah, go ahead, yeah.
If you're choosing your favorite prompt here and your favorite reward here for a lesson, if you did that first, would it save you the step of doing it
next time
in the planner?
Oh, you mean like, hold on, I'm trying to find, okay. So say the question again. If you are setting, if you're saving a link on your favorites tab, then it will show every time you have that lesson in your planner. Is that what you're asking?
Right. But because my step was I inputted my schedule, I go to my planner, I see what's there,
right, and
then I'm going to decide from there what to use.
Exactly. So
should I go here first?
Yeah, that's what I was saying at the beginning of this. That's really the most efficient way is to prep from your favorites tab. because then if you have to make any changes to your input tab or any changes at all, really, all of your favorite things are saved. So it's I think, ideal to prep from your favorites tab. Although, just like in the beginner session, we don't really touch on the favorites tab. So I always kind of go over those steps afterwards. But you definitely can prep from your favorites tab. I know many people do. Once you become more fluent with your planner, this is what I recommend, is prepping from your favorites tab. Because as soon as I designate something as a proper reward, as my favorite proper reward, it will instantly show on my planner tab. That's not the same.
Great.
And that's not the only thing is, though, for feedback, that's not the same case. So on your feedback tab, because all of these cells on your feedback tab need to be editable, right? They all need to be editable for you to be able to edit things. And so your favorite feedback will not show up immediately. It won't show up at all until you hit that refresh button, okay? And when you hit the refresh button, then your planner will pull in that edited feedback from your favorites tab. So like she was just asking about prepping from your favorites tab, this is ideal to do, but for feedback purposes, you won't see, like let's say I like this template, I want to use it. I can save either gender. It doesn't matter which gender I save, because the planner will take whatever I put in this box right here next to that lesson. The planner will take that feedback tab and generate it into two. So does that make sense? So even though I saved the girl version, it's going to show on my feedback tab when I hit start or when I hit refresh, it's going to show me the boy and the girl version for it, okay? Because it can do all of that pronoun swapping and things like that. So that's just a suggestion there, because a lot of people think as soon as, it's just like the prop and reward, as soon as I designate something as my favorite, it's going to show me it on the planner tab, but it doesn't, because this whole feedback tab is editable. There aren't any formulas on there that are connecting it all. So if I go down to that level 5 class right here, Cherry, I'm going to see these are blank. So the way to get those to show up is to click refresh. And I'm going to click refresh just to show you. But if I click refresh, it's going to look on my favorites tab. So anytime I click refresh, it's going to look on my favorites tab and pull in new stuff. So I've clicked refresh now, and it's landing me on my planner tab, but I want to be on my feedback tab to show you this in action. So I scroll down to Cherry. Now I see that it's not blank, because I've designated a favorite feedback, and I've hit that refresh button. It shows me my favorite feedback that I've designated, okay?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a quick question on that, the favorites part of the feedback. Because when I save one, it will, the name stays the name that I originally did, and it won't change the name for the new student. So what do I do?
This is what you need to do. So on the favorites tab right here, so go back to your favorites tab, and here's the issue. So the reason that I say it's ideal to prep from the favorites tab, yes, that's true. However, if you are taking this template right here and pasting it and maybe editing your student's name in there, yeah, and maybe, or maybe, you know, vice versa, you just took it from the feedback tab and pasted it into your favorites tab with that same name, the student name, it will not generate the new student's name. So it says right here, name should be the placeholder. So your favorites tab actually generates Cherry. Notice that if I make a change on my feedback tab, let's say I edit this one that I designated as my favorite. Let's say I change it to, I don't know, did great, all caps, just for example. Let's say I edited on my feedback tab, and I go over to my favorites tab, I will actually see that edit real time right there. But instead of it saying Cherry, it says name, because the favorites tab will look for the student's name and swap it back. And it's a little confusing. So it's kind of up to you what steps you take, but I definitely recommend making edits to your feedback tab. So instead of editing what's up here, or you definitely can't edit what's up there, because if you do, it's going to mess up your formulas, okay? Or if you, maybe this whole thing is blank right now, it's likely because you have a formula messed up. If you're editing stuff right here and you're taking out name and you're putting Bob or whatever, then your planner, next time you have this lesson, it's not finding the placeholder. So it can't swap it out. So everything in column E would need to be having that name placeholder. So you would want to go in and find all of your templates that have those specific student names, and you would need to find those and replace those specific student names with this placeholder. Does that make sense, kind of?
Yeah, I just
Okay.
confused. So I understand on that, on my favorites, but
Yeah.
I'm confused on the actual
tab.
feedback tab.
Yeah.
If I change, so how do I change it on my, so if I have a favorites and it says Cherry and I want it to say Alan, how do I make it do that on the favorites?
Okay, good. No, that's a good question.
Is that a question? Okay.
Yeah, that's a good question. So if you have, let's say that this template right here is actually supposed to be for Alan, right? And so you need to change all that. You don't want to have to go in and click it and figure out, where all the names are. That's a lot of work. So what you can actually do is just use this swap names feature right here. And that's something I didn't really touch on in the basic session because it is a little bit more advanced, and you really only encounter this issue if you have students that have names that don't match with the portal and things like that, or you have a favorites connection problem. So what I would do is I would want to find, okay, I want to find this name Cherry. Well, she's not, maybe for your case, she's not on your current student list that's in that dropdown. Well, this box is actually type-inable. I don't know, it's editable. Okay, so it doesn't matter what you type in that drop-down box or what you select, but if you want to, that this template has the name Cherry in it and you need it to say Alan, then you would type in Cherry right here and type in what name you want it to be, and then click that button. And what it's going to do is change all of the cherries on your whole feedback tab, change them to Alan. Okay, did you see that kind of?
Yeah, I do that. And so I thought maybe there was a different way where you're supposed to put it back to name in the bracket and then it would automatically do it. But
okay, good. Good
fine.
question, because your next step, here's what you need to do next in order for that change to stick. Because right now, I've changed Cherry, I've changed it to Alan, right? And so ideally, this should show next time. It should be right, correct? I mean, maybe I don't need to worry about changing Cherry again. What's going to happen is next time you have the same lesson, you're going to see Cherry again. You're going to see it come back up because what's happening is your favorites tab was never changed. So yeah, so you make the change on your feedback tab, yes. And the feedback tab is editable and you want to make all your edits on the feedback tab. However, your favorites tab is the main source. It's the resource bank. It's where everything is looking. So your planner is always looking at your favorites tab. So in order for that change to take place for the next time you have that lesson, you would need to go in and find that lesson, and you can actually just grab the template from up top again. Okay, notice that it's saying Alan 1 now instead of the name. That's because it doesn't match what's on my input tab or my planner tab. So it's going to show you whatever name you changed it to. I would suggest making those changes just directly right here. Just go ahead and find all the ones that have a student name and not the right placeholder, and just swapping those out. Okay, it might be some manual work for you to do, but if we have time at the end, I can show you a quicker way to do it. Okay,
thank you.
Heather.
Yeah,
Heather.
Yeah. Oh, Heather, Megan.
Yes,
this is Megan.
Okay,
Hi.
all right. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay. It's okay.
One thing that I've done, and I don't know, I may be venturing into an area that I shouldn't, I just take my feedback for each class and I go back and forth between Word, and I do a find and replace in Word. You can replace all, and then I copy that onto the feedback tab.
Okay, that's good, but your planner does that already.
So it does it already.
Already does it. So if you go to your favorites tab after you've edited the feedback, so let's say you edit it in Word or straight on your planner, you actually will notice. So let me just click right here. Okay, so I just selected another lesson. These are all of my templates that are on my feedback tab currently. And what I'm noticing here up top, it already says name, right? But on my feedback tab, it says the student's name. So let me just, for example, make an edit to it. So I want to find that same lesson code. Okay, so it's right here. So I'm going to go scroll over, and let's say that I edited this one. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually see those edits. All my edits are reflected instantly on my favorites tab. So if I hop back over to my favorites tab, I'm going to see, oh, well, I must have 2 of those codes on there. Let me see. Hold on. I'm going to backspace that. Maybe that'll show now. Oh, I hate when this happens. I have a lot of trials in this run right now, so if you have a double of the same lesson, then it can show you, it can give you problems. There we go. All right, so let's say I edited this. Okay. All right, so favorites, and then I can see, I just swapped back and forth between my feedback and my favorites, but I can see that it already generated. See how it says edited this right here. Okay.
Okay.
So what you're doing with Word is it's just an extra step, but your favorites tab generates VV back to name on your favorites tab, so that it's a quick save instead of having to go in and find that name and changing it. It's a quicker save. So yeah, so make your edits on your feedback tab. That's what I was saying at the beginning, is make your edits on your feedback tab, and then before you reset your planner, go to your favorites tab, and you can save all of your feedback templates that you've edited. And you can actually do that by either just remembering which type you edited. That's one thing that's a little bit difficult for me to remember. So often I will just go over here to my feedback tab, and let's say this is the one that I edited. So I'm going to paste it over here, and it's going to show up on my favorites tab under that favorites column right here. See, it's showing there now too. Okay, it's kind of connected. Those 2 tabs are instantly connected. Okay. So any edit you make on your feedback tab is shown on your favorites tab, so that it's a quick copy and paste from your the top of your favorites tab to that lesson below. That way you also aren't having to go in and find all those student names and swapping them out. Does that make sense?
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Megan?
Okay. Yeah.
Question. If I wanted to type my own feedback, but I want to save it, where do I type it?
Okay. So if you don't want to use any of those, like any of the templates from the group or populated from the favorite feedback tab, what you can do is just instantly just type it straight into your favorites tab. So let's say for this lesson here, let's do this same one, this level 5 class. So my own feedback template for, what was her name? Cherry, right? So I think it's Cherry, but instead of typing Cherry, if you're wanting to designate this as your favorite, you would need to use that placeholder instead of Cherry. Okay. Because if I put, Cherry did a great job, instead of saying name did a great job, what's going to happen is whenever I click start the next time, or I refresh or what have you, it will show me that favorite feedback, but it will have that Cherry in it instead of the name. So I'm gonna hit refresh, and that's going to show you that kind of in action, because it's so important on the favorites tab to save all your feedback templates, no matter if it was from our bank or if it was from your own bank. It's going to cause some problems if you don't use that name template. Okay, so let's see. That was probably a bad example to use Cherry, because it's actually the right name, but you see what I'm saying? Like if you typed Bob instead. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, and okay, close out. Yeah.
So this is the feedback tab you're typing in. Okay.
Right. So on your feedback tab, make your edits here. That's why I recommend definitely, prep your prop and reward ahead of time, like maybe pick out your favorites ahead of time. But then after class, or after you've already edited your feedback, then save that template before you reset. Okay.
Megan.
Yeah.
I have a question?
Yeah, sure.
So if like I taught 6 classes today, so I could feasibly go back into my feedback, copy and paste, and then put it in my planner. Is that correct?
So from SlideKick, right?
Yes.
Or okay. So if you're wanting to prep it, to kind of like backtrack a little bit, just remember that on your favorites tab, it just simply needs to have the name placeholder. So whichever way you decide to do it, I mean, you could always just put put the feedback template in as is with that student name.
Mm-hmm.
You could do that, but you would need to go back in and change all those names to name, the placeholder.
Okay.
But if you paste it on your feedback tab, this would be easier for you to do because you could just go in and find, okay, where was Eric's template? Okay, I already have Eric in all of this. So just paste it there under your favorites.
Okay. Thank
and then
you.
Before you reset, you can save it as your favorite. So
perfect.
Okay.
Megan,
Yeah,
can I
go
just
ahead.
make sure I have it? Okay,
Sure.
So after class, I'm going to go do I'm going to go edit my feedback on the feedback tab.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm going to save it to that column F or G in the favorite.
That's right. After you make your edits.
Okay. And then I will go to my favorites.
Right.
And then it'll be listed up there at the top, and I will copy and paste it down.
You got it. You got it.
Oh,
I can't see who's talking, but I can't see everybody's face. What's your name again?
My name's Stephanie.
Stephanie, you got it. That's right on the point.
You. Okay.
So yes, so everyone, you can listen to those awesome stuff there, because that's really simply what you do is edit your feedback on your feedback tab and make your changes there. And I would suggest pasting it under F or G, like to paste it into your favorites column. But it doesn't have to be. Like if I wanted to just change, one of the templates over there and make edits, it shows me all of my options basically. Okay, so over on favorites, I can then, after I've edited everything, I will see all of those options and they're directly connected to my feedback tab. So I will see all my edits there. Okay. All right, so let's move on for time's sake. Let's move on to the classes tab and the students tab, because I know a lot of people were interested about how to, track your rewards. What rewards did you use with each of your students? That kind of thing. So what I'm going to actually do for a quick second, allow me just some time, because I'm going to show you how to save your planner, like record it. Record your classes. But first I need to get some stuff in there. So let's just say I used this reward for all of my classes. I'm just going to go ahead and fill that all the way up there. And that way I can see, there we go. Let's do different ones so it's not showing me everything of the same. Hold on. Okay. All right. So, basically what I'm doing right now is something that I would have done before class, just so you know, if you're confused watching me right now. Okay. I'm making sure they're all different. So just for a better example, so to speak. Okay. So let's say I've saved my favorite feedback. I've saved everything. I've saved my favorites, yada, yada. And now I want to make sure that I can see all of that stuff next time. Well, your favorites tab is always going to remain the same, so you don't need to do anything extra. No extra steps need to be taken to save your favorites, because they're always going to be there until you take them away or edit them in some way. So just know that your favorites are safe, okay? But what about students? We want to be able to track students, right? We want to be able to track their rewards and how many classes you've taken with them and all that stuff. So what you can do is, first and foremost, if you want to track previous rewards, then you have to designate a reward on your rewards tab to get it to show up on your classes tab. So a lot of people use these extension rewards, and maybe you don't even designate it. You just click and open it, right, in class. And so your little column right here that says my selected reward, it's always blank because you just use the extension rewards. Is that the case for anyone? I mean, that is for me often. So if you are seeing this column I is blank, then that's why maybe some of your previous rewards aren't saving. Okay. So the way to always ensure that your rewards are being tracked is to designate them on that rewards tab, because we need that column I where it says my selected reward. We need that to be filled up in order for your planner to know which one you actually used. So here's how it works. I've selected rewards for all my students. I've saved my favorite feedback templates and all that stuff. So now what I want to do is go in and I would then save my planner. But maybe you had a new student today. Maybe CC is a new student to you and you wanted to save CC as a student you want to track. Well, you can do that anytime you want to. It doesn't have to be something that's on your planner tab currently. So that would be done under the students tab, and I'll show you that. But first I want to show you the classes tab, because just like feedback and favorites work together, the classes and students tab, those two work together as well. So I'm going to go ahead and click on, I'm going to go back to my input, because what I'm going to do is click save. I'm going to go to step number 3. I want to save my classes for the day. I want to save everything that I've worked hard on. So a quick note about this save button. This save button is to be used sparingly. Okay, I know that's something I didn't really clarify very well, I think, in the planner tutorials, but you don't want to be clicking the save button like every other minute. Don't do that, because what the save button does is it takes your day and it records it on your classes tab. Okay, so when you're clicking save, every hour or so, save, what's happening is your classes tab itself is being filled with duplicates, right? It's just being filled with duplicates. Okay. And there's a new tool you can use in Google Sheets to fix that very quickly. And I'll show you, it's actually something that Google put into Google Sheets to make it easier to find and remove those duplicates. So I'll show you how to do that in a second. But first I'm going to click Save Planner. So when I click Save Planner, notice it's going straight to my Planner tab. It's taking what's on my Planner tab and it's pasting it onto my Classes tab. So this is where it landed me, was my Classes tab. Okay. So on my Classes tab, I can see that I've got some duplicate. Well, maybe I don't have duplicates right now. I don't think I do. Oh, yeah. Oh, maybe. I don't know. Let's see. Let's find out. So do you want to see how to do that duplicate, how to remove those duplicates?
Yes, okay, please.
Okay. All right, let's do that.
Yes.
Because the duplicates are a nightmare, because it really can throw off everything, because it throws off the count, how many classes you've had together, it throws off your previous rewards. So what I'm going to do is first and foremost, I'm going to click to select all. So I'm just clicking underneath FX is where you'll want to click. That's just that little gray square. This selects everything. And then I'm going to go into data right there. And this is in Google Sheets. So if you don't see the toolbar, let's say it looks like this. Has anybody encountered this whole arrow issue? It's a little annoying. But you actually have to click this drop down to be able to see your menu. Okay, so if you ever don't see file or edit or any of those, just click that drop down, the menus. Okay, so I'm going to click data and I'm going to click remove duplicates. Okay, so I'm going to click remove duplicates, and what it's going to ask me first is, do you want to analyze all of these columns for duplicates? And I would say not necessarily, because if you have a lot of duplicates, the only thing you really need to look at is the class time, right? That's the only thing that would be consistent. So maybe you made some edits to your feedback, and you saved duplicates, but maybe there were some tiny differences. So you don't necessarily want it to look at the feedback column or the selected reward column or even the name column. All you need to select, so I'm unchecking that. All you need to select is column E for time. Right here. So it's under class. It's hard to see on mine because I'm zoomed out a bit, but column E, class time, that's what you want to select, or maybe you can see. There we go. Okay, cool. So I just checked that data has header row. And I'm going to remove duplicates for those class times, because obviously we would want the one that's, we don't want multiple class times. So it says a duplicate exists in a hidden row. Oh, great. Yeah, I do want to continue. Let's see what happens. Okay, so it said 2 duplicates removed, and then it left me with my uniques. So once again, let me just undo that real quick. Okay, maybe it, okay, cool. All right, so here we go. I'm going to click that again, just those steps one more time. I'm going to click remove duplicates, and I'm going to uncheck all of the columns. I only want to analyze the class time, okay? So I'm going to analyze column E for class times, and I'm going to hit remove duplicates. And it might, okay, so like this thing right here, I don't really know. I don't know why it's telling me that, but I clicked OK and it's all good. So for now, at least. I'm gonna hit OK. And then it told me that it removed 2 duplicate rows, okay? And so 1 unique, or 169 unique rows remain. All right, and I hit OK. And now I'm gonna see that there's not gonna be that duplicate situation anymore, okay? And you can manually delete them, and that's a good question too. So if I wanted to manually delete something like Leo right here, I just want to delete this one class, maybe this one class record, like Geraldine, okay? I can just right click, I can click on the row number, and I can right click and delete it, okay? So definitely useful there. Now, that's just a tip to do that. I think that it's definitely good to clean up your classes tab every now and then, because it's it can get quite long. The bigger your classes tab is, the longer it takes for your planner to load. Letting you know. So the more stuff you have on the classes tab, the longer it'll take to open, at least. So that's what I mean by load. And notice that on, I'm going to zoom out a little more so we can see a little better. But on my classes tab, in column H is where you'll see all those old previous selected rewards. And notice that some of them are blank, okay? Now, this is because I didn't designate a reward, right? I didn't designate one on the rewards tab for that day. And so that's why it's showing up blank. But if after the fact, if I want to be able to say, oh man, I forgot to paste, or I forgot to select one, what I can do is I can actually just edit this. Your whole classes tab is editable. So you can manipulate the records in a way. So maybe instead of having those blanks, you can go in and you can actually, maybe right after class, right after you saved, if you need to make a last minute change, you can. Yeah, I don't even, this is not my actual planner, so I don't even know how many duplicates I have in mind, but where does the class tab populate from? That's a great question. The classes tab, when you click Save Planner, every time you click that button, Save Planner, what it does is it takes your planner tab, because it is saving it. It takes your planner tab and it saves it to your classes. So whatever I have in column I right here is going to show up in my selected reward column on my classes tab. Does that make sense? So everything from your planner tab is saved when you click Save Planner. And then it also grabs your feedback. It also grabs your feedback from the feedback tab if you've pasted it into the favorites column. I would say, so like, just for example, let me show you. This is a no-no. You don't want to do this in your own planner, but the way that it pulls your feedback is by looking in your favorites column on your feedback tab. So, I mean, if I don't have anything in there, like, see, that's the only favorite feedback I had on my feedback tab. That's the only thing that's going to save. So you can edit any template in your classes tab. Your classes tab is editable. So let's say that, see how I have some of these these records are old. April 17th, that's from last year. I don't know why it says 2020, but it's from last year. And so if I've transferred planners a couple of times, and so it's showing up in some of these extra columns, but you can definitely double click and edit it and save it as a favorite feedback. Now, the only thing is that it has that student name in there. So you'd have to go in and find those and change them out. But yeah, it says, I see something that says, new to this, you want to save your planner if you really want to get the maximum effect of your planner tracking things and all that. You want to save it every day, but you don't want to save it multiple times a day. You only want to save it after you're done making any edits and you're about to put in your next day of classes. That's when you should click save, okay? I hope one day to combine those 2 steps, or really 3 steps. I mean, it would be nice to be able to just click one button, you know, and have it save and reset and have everything ready. Maybe one day that will be doable. Okay, so that's the classes tab, and the classes tab is not super important for your planner functioning, but if you're wanting to track things, that's when the classes tab is a huge factor. You want to make sure that you're not clicking save a bunch of times and having duplicates and things like that, because the duplicates will play into your class count. This column Z, the last column on your classes tab, is something that your students tab actually adds up. So you can manipulate your class counts. Let's say I've had a lot of classes with Luna, and maybe, let me zoom in more so y'all can see this better. Maybe Luna and I have shared over 100 classes together, not just one, and maybe Luna's only on my classes tab like 1 or 2 times, you know. I can actually edit this count manually. Might just like grab that number from the portal, okay? And then I can actually view all of my information about specific students by going over to my students tab, okay? Now my students tab is, I'm gonna hide that row, there we go. Your students tab, this is the next thing that we'll kind of talk about, and probably one of the last things, but the students tab is probably, I don't know, I think a little advanced, okay? Because you can always go over to your students tab anytime you need to reference something about a certain student. You can save a new student and add them to your like student list here, and you can save their picture with their name right next to it, and then you can also view. This is important. On the students tab, you'll see it says all previous rewards, all previous notes. The blue columns are not editable. Don't edit those, because does anybody know where do those results come from? You can unmute or say it. Anybody know? Where do these blue columns come from? If I can't edit it, how will I know? Like, how can I save it? Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Say it again.
It has your formulas in it?
It does. Oh, well, it definitely has formulas. Definitely has formulas, but where can I change this info? Like Ruby didn't do this reward. That's wrong. But I can't backspace it because I can't edit that. Ruth, you know?
Favorite to your favorites.
Yes, maybe. Let's see. Look right there. Dun, 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 dun. Where did my results come from?
Classes tab.
Yeah. So like I said, the students tab and the classes tab, they're married. Okay, they're married together. And then the favorites tab and the feedback tab, they're married together too. So what I would do is, let's say this is incorrect, or I need to change something about these previous rewards, right? Like notes and rewards, that's not right. So what I would want to go do is, if I need to make an adjustment to something showing up on my students tab, I would, yeah, they're all pulled from your previous classes. So your student tab, it takes what's on your classes tab and just bunches it all together into these columns here. So if I click over to classes, what I would do is I would want to find Stella. And I can see that I've got one class record for Stella. And I need to use my arrows to navigate here, but this is not hold on, let me look right here. Let's look up, oh, that's why, look, see, her nickname is a little bit different there. But notice that I have that little purple heart, you know, and maybe I want to get rid of that. I don't want that showing up in her student history, so to speak. So I would do is I would go to my classes tab and I would use Control or Command F to find Stella. And I would go in, and underneath the selected reward, I would just backspace it, okay? Or add something or change something, whatever modification or adjustment you're wanting to make. And maybe me and Stella have had a lot of classes together. Maybe we've had 80 classes together. And I want to be able to see that on my student tab. What I would do is I would go over to the student tab, and I could now see that change reflected, okay? It's instant. So I don't see the purple heart anymore. That's because I found Stella's nickname on my classes tab, and I made those changes, and now I can see my class count is different as well. Oh, the purple heart. Oh, don't. Sorry. The purple heart is actually from a very old version of the planner that used to show up whenever you didn't input. I think if I'm remembering correctly, it was a placeholder on the planner tab itself. So instead of this column right here, I showing up blank, it would have little hearts in them. I don't know why. I just looked like, it sounded like a fun idea, so I did it. And then I have all these purple hearts everywhere, and I try to go find them and change them every time I see them. But anyways, so if I wanted to make adjustments to anything regarding my students' history in the planner, I would need to make those changes on my classes tab, not on my students tab. That's student history though. What about their information, like their student information? That's all these white cells right here, okay? So all of these white boxes I can edit and edit away and add as many students as you want. You can do this manually by maybe scrolling to the bottom, and I can maybe not 1,000, but maybe I just want to add one more row at the bottom. I could do that. So maybe if you haven't been using the planner, but you have a good group of regulars that you want to add, you can go in and add them on your students tab by adding rows to the bottom. But let's say they're currently on your planner tab, like I haven't reset anything yet. So I can actually see all my current students. I can see them on my students tab as an option to save. So maybe I want to save Vivi. No. Let's say I want to save Hanson. I already have Hanson on my students tab, so I'm actually going to find him and delete him just so that we don't get anything confused. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm going to delete Hanson, and I'm going to just re-add him for an example. Now, Hanson doesn't have a nickname that I use for him. He's just my only Hanson. So what I would do is just type Hanson again. Point being is because column C has to be filled up with something, because that's what the planner looks at, is the nickname, the unique nickname. Okay. Maybe I'll leave these blank because I don't really need to save anything about him, but I do want to be able to see all of his previous rewards. So once I've done all of this saving, or once I've typed in the student name in the portal and I've put something as his nickname, and I maybe want to designate a photo for him. This is actually more advanced thing too, but what you can do is you can take a photo like from a class playback or something. You can just screenshot their video feed, and then it would show up on your computer, right? So you can take that photo from your computer and drag it into your Google Drive. And if you're not familiar with that, I can stick around afterwards in just a minute and show you how to put that photo in there. But there is a video on my YouTube channel that shows those exact steps on how to put your photo in Google Drive and to get that shareable link, okay? So I would want to click Save This Planner. So once I click Save This Planner, it's going to show me, I hear my mom. Nana is here. Anyways, so let me scroll down. I'm going to show you Hanson here. So Hanson's going to be added to the very bottom of my student list, right? And I can actually instantly see, as soon as I added Hanson, I can see that it's counting. It looked on my classes tab. Okay. Okay, so that way I can see all my previous rewards. So if you have a lot of students on your classes tab that are regulars, you can quickly view all of their previous rewards by going to your students tab and adding them as a student, and it will show you all of those previous rewards. And that's as long as their name in column C, this is important to know, their name in column C, it needs to match whatever's on your classes tab, because that's how it looks, okay, or how it searches by student. And it would need to be something a little unique, because if you have a lot of Erics, then you would need to use a different nickname to differentiate between the two. if you, do you already have to add them? Oh, so Karen, if they're already on your students tab and you're not seeing, like for example, Damon right here. I know I have a lot of records saved on my classes tab with Damon, but I only see one previous reward, but that's not right. So what you would do is go onto your classes tab and you would need to find those other records and either adjust their name that's in column B, because maybe it's there's a mix match. Maybe it's like some spaces between the letters in the name, and then you could go in and see, okay, maybe the selected reward column was blank. But basically, the students in the classes tabs, they're both married together. And if the names don't match or something is blank on your classes tab, then your students tab is not going to show accurate information. Okay. So let's see. Okay, hold on. I'm looking through questions here. Okay, go ahead and unmute if you have questions about either of those. Go ahead. Anybody?
You said that on the very last column that we could input the number of classes that you've had.
Yes.
After you do that and you save and you have that student subsequently and you save, will it automatically update those numbers?
Right, because yes, and it will. Because if you notice on my classes tab, each of these little rows is a record, okay? It's a record of that class. And you can see in column Z, your planner automatically counts it as one record. But if I want to manually adjust one of those to adjust my entire class count, I would just find my first record with that student and I would make the adjustment that way. So,
okay.
Just
so
oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. So for example, if I've had this student, we've had 100 classes. When I add him, I would just put 100 in that column. And then when I save the next time, it'll update to 101.
Exactly.
Am I understanding? Okay.
That's correct. So let's say, for Stella right here, I adjusted her count to 80. And this is like this is the classes tab. So these are just class records, not necessarily student specific information.
Okay.
But on this record right here, I just changed the number on one of those records. And on my students tab, I see that it says for Stella, we have had 82 classes together. This must mean right here, it says 82 right there. Okay. This must mean that I have 2 more records on my classes tab with Stella. And so it's adding all of those ones up. So the next time that I save Stella, like she's on my schedule, I used the planner and I put her right nickname. And when I click Save Planner, it's going to show me 83 because it counts it. Each time you save your planner, it counts up all of these rows right here. That's how to adjust that class count. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Let's see. Question. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, you showed us how to get rid of our duplicates in the class. Now I still have duplicates in my students tab.
Right. So you can do the same thing. Yeah, and
by time, does it show us by students?
It doesn't. Time? So what you would have to do is you would actually have to go in. So name and portal would be or maybe assigned nickname. It depends. You would have to look at the specific. If you have a lot of duplicates on your students tab, you might want to use that, data, remove duplicates again. But if there's only a few, what you could do is sort your students by like in alphabetical order. And then you could quickly see which ones are duplicates, okay?
Okay.
So you could select column B right here, and I would just select it right here and right click and sort it from A to Z. And when I do that, it's going to show me everything in alphabetical order. So I can see I have 2 Allens. Well, they are different Allens, so I'm not going to remove them. But maybe I have 2 Bows right here, and then they have different nicknames, but it might be the same kid. So I could just right click that whole row by clicking the row number and delete it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And guys, we're kind of closing in on that hour mark, but I will definitely, show you guys the how to do the steps for uploading a photo if you would like to see those steps. But you are welcome to say au revoir. And thank you guys so much for coming today. As you know, our whole admin team, we host these monthly and voluntarily, so tips are always appreciated. And this is my info right here. And let me check the chat box one more time. So go ahead and definitely send another if you have a question specifically about anything that we talked about with the favorites and the students. Oh, thank you. Y'all are sweet. Yes, today's recording will be available to watch again for sure. I use the student tab info. Yeah. Oh, let's see. Yeah. Oh, Alicia, good answer there. Okay. Let's see. Oh, thank you guys. Now, I will go over that update with short notice classes for sure. Yeah, let's do that. I should have mentioned it when we were doing our favorites, because that's really when you would want to add short notice classes, is after you've designated favorites, okay? So let's say that I'm in the middle of classes, right? And I notice that I have a short notice booking pop up, okay? And I've got it, it's like one of my next classes. What I would want to do is I would want to go in and let's say that, first off, I'm going to remove some of these extras here because I don't want any of those duplicate classes showing up again. Hang on. Okay, there we go. And 2, okay. So it doesn't matter what order I have these classes in on my input tab. So let's say I want to add this short notice booking. So I'm going to just do my normal thing. I'm going to drag and highlight and I'm going to copy it. Okay. And then I'm going to paste it. But first, before I click start, because whenever I click start, that's going to clear out everything I've edited. Okay. So this would be difficult to do between classes. Honestly, I'm just throwing it out there, but maybe it's in the morning and before classes and you have a little bit of time. I would go on to my favorites tab really quickly before I click start again. I would go on to my favorites tab and designate those favorites that I wanted to save. But really more importantly is the feedback. That's what gets cleared out because it pulls in all of your stuff from your favorites column. So it's going to, paste over any edits that you might have made. So my suggestion would be, maybe you made edits to your feedback, but it's really student specific and you don't want to save it as a favorite. Maybe it's something, that's specific to that student. You can always use this button right here, or this column right here, column A, on your feedback tab specifically. You can use that and paste anything you don't want cleared out. You can paste it in that class notes box. But just know that if one of those short notice bookings occurs between like 2 classes you've already selected rewards for, then it's going to throw off your selected rewards. And there's really no way around that. I don't really have a super efficient, cool solution for you other than just simply dragging those down. And let me show you what I mean. I'm going to just go ahead and click start. Okay. And when I do that, it's going to be not matching. The rewards are not going to match anymore. So, and the feedback will be cleared out and redone, so to speak. Okay. So there's really not a way for it to not throw it off. The only way that you can really avoid this is look. So I have a lot of stuff thrown off here. See how this is the, selected reward right there. Okay. So what I would have to do is I can actually select multiple cells at a time and you can kind of drag them around. Okay. So that's a cool way to do it, but there's really no solution to that. I mean, honestly, unless you go in and designate your favorite reward for that specific lesson, then it will show up in your favorite reward column. Does that make sense? Kind of?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, and then it would be something student specific, but then at least it won't be thrown off. You'll be able to see which reward you actually wanted to use for that student instead of, yesterday's or, the wrong student, that kind of thing.
Right.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, question about that. Yeah, anybody? Because I mean, this is a bad example that I have here because I just added it to the bottom. It wasn't something that, you know, showed up in between classes. But
Yes.
you can always select multiple cells and drag them. Yeah, go ahead. Ask what question is it? You can go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. You're on.
Oh, sorry.
You're good.
So yes, this morning I experienced that I had 3 regular classes that I had already done the feedback for and picked my props for and rewards, and then I noticed 2 short notice classes popped up. So I tried to go into the planner and add them.
Right, and just like added them at the bottom, maybe.
Right at the bottom, and then it threw everything else off. Like I went, you know, my edited feedback. So now I know focusing on favorites tab.
It'll solve that
done first.
Yeah.
Right.
It'll solve that. And especially if you use lesson specific rewards, that's, and that's what I use. And so it'll really fix that whole problem with throwing off stuff at the bottom, because while your rewards and your feedback will be thrown off, maybe at least temporarily, you know, if you've already edited this feedback, right, but you need to add a booking, what you can do is just go ahead and save it next to that lesson, so that even though it's resetting and it's you know, pulling in all the new stuff, your saves or your edits will be saved. They'll be safe on your favorites tab, and it'll show up again. Does that make sense? Kind of.
Yes,
Okay,
it
cool.
does. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And thank you guys for coming. And let's see, I think, hold on, I'm trying to listen here. Trying to see if my 4-year-old is like bored yet with Dad or Nana, but fine. I'm going to go ahead and check the chat one more time. And if you do have a quick question, I'll be able to hang out for just a minute and answer it. If it's anything about specifically okay, I'm just catching up on the chat. Feel free to unmute. Go ahead.
So while you catch up, I just try to put in my first student under my students. When I pressed to save the student, instead of going to row 6, it jumped it down to row 7.
Oh, is row 6 blank?
Yes.
Oh, it's blank, like it doesn't have a student name in it?
It has nothing in it.
Oh, well, you can just delete row 6 if you want.
That's fine. Okay.
Yeah, that should be fine. Is your tab named My Students or Students?
My Students.
Okay, that's an old planner, possibly.
No,
possibly.
No, this is the one from.
I mean, okay. It says My Students at the top, right?
Yes, at the very top.
But the tab name, like down below.
Down below says Students.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Okay. Yeah, the students tab is, you can delete whole rows. It's no big deal.
Okay,
as long as you don't delete this hidden row here, okay?
Megan?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is the slide kick favorites, is that tied in with the planner? So if I've marked it on slide kick as
I know, it's so sad. I know. So what you would need to do is you would need to go into Sidekick, and you can actually click over to My Rewards, and then you'll be able to see, but you have to go in and manually, transfer all that.
I understand that on the rewards, but how about the props?
The props, that would be pretty cool. That would be pretty painless. What you could do is go in and open up Sidekick on your computer, have your favorites tab open as well at the same time, and click over to My Lessons. And then you can go in and copy and paste those links for your favorites for each lesson. Does that make sense?
It's a nice, easy step. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming. I'm going to go ahead and end this session today, but feel free to PM me or send me any questions that you have. And I hope this helped kind of clear up some of that stuff on the favorites and students and things like that. I hope y'all have a wonderful Sunday and happy teaching. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.